Howdy, and welcome back to lesson number 2 in sight reading on the mandolin. In our first lesson, we looked at the open strings of the mandolin and where they're notated in standard notation. I'm going to bring up a staff across the top of the screen here, and let's review those really quickly. So you're going to see 4 measures up above, and we're in 4/4 time, so there's going to be 4 beats per measure. And on the first beat of each measure, you're going to see a note. And each of those notes is going to represent an open string on the mandolin. So in your first measure, you're going to see a G note. That's down below the staff. It's 2 lines below the staff and 1 note further than that. That's the lowest note you can play on a mandolin in standard tuning. In the second measure, you're going to see a note that represents the D note. Again, that's where your D is. It's right below the staff. In the third measure over here, you're going to see a note that represents the A note. It's kind of in the middle there. It's in the second from the bottom, the opening slot there. You'd see a dot, that's that note. And in the fourth measure, you're going to see a note that represents, on beat 1 of the fourth measure, an E note. So if you were to read that music, if that was music in front of you, and you had a kickoff that went 1, 2, 3, 4, and then started playing, it would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are some guiding notes. That's the way I like to learn how to sight read on the mandolin, because it gives me points of reference as I'm reading music to see where I'm at. I find it a lot easier than trying to instantly, memorize A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all over the staff. The next thing we're going to look at are notes that are immediately above those notes on the staff. So I'm going to bring up 4 more measures up above here. And in measure 1, you're going to see that same old G note on the first beat. But then on beat 2, you're going to have a rest. On beat 3, you're going to see another note. And that note that's immediately above the G, it's going to be on that little line right above the G. You're going to see a note there. It's going to be your A note. That's played right here. Now, we're not talking about flats or sharps. Don't think of anything like that. These are all natural notes. So we're not going to talk about any keys or anything like that. We're just playing just straight notes here. So again, that first measure would be the G on the first beat, a pause on the second beat, an A on the third beat, and then a pause on the fourth beat. That next measure you're looking at, again, represents where the D is. We know where that is. So on the first beat, it would be a D, pause on the second beat, E, that's an E note on the third beat, and then the fourth beat would have a rest. On the third measure, if you look above again, you've got an open A. Then your next note is a B, that's on your second fret here. And then a rest on that fourth beat. So again, it's going to be a A, rest, B, and then a rest. On the fourth measure, you're going to see an open E note, again what we were familiar with, and then an F. The F, though, is on the first fret. It's not on the second fret. That's actually an F sharp, but we're not going into that right now. So it's just going to be, that fourth measure would be E, rest, F, rest. We're not in any key right now, so it might sound a little bit weird if you were just listening to some music, or if you were strumming on a G chord. It's going to sound weird because in G you have an F sharp, not an F. So don't worry about how it sounds right now. Just learning, when you look at that staff, those 4 measures above again, that you've got G, rest, A, rest, D, rest, E, rest, A, rest, B, rest, E, rest, F, rest. And that's how you play those 4 measures. Now I invite you over to patreon.com/MyBluegrassRomance, where we've got a bunch of supplemental information for this particular lesson and a whole bunch of other stuff to inspire your mandolin picking. These next few exercises we're going to look at are going to start to incorporate those open notes and the notes that we just learned, But over at my Patreon, I've got backing tracks that I play along with you. These are made to be duos, so you might be playing one thing on the mandolin while I'm playing another, and then we start to hear some sort of music coming out of it. Because when you just hear like, it's sort of just like, sounds like random notes. So over on my Patreon, we really start to put that stuff into some context. So let's look at the first exercise. I'm calling this exercise 3, and we're also going to look at exercise 4 after that. I'm just doing them in sequence. So lesson 1 had exercise 1 and 2. This lesson has exercise 3 and 4. The next lesson will have exercise 5 and 6, and then we'll progressively work our way through sight reading so we can improve sequentially. So exercise number 3 I'm gonna bring that up across the top here, and it's an 8-measure exercise, and then you can repeat it as many times as you want. But let's first look at the first 4 measures across the top here. And what we're looking at is an open A string is going to be in our first measure, right? Beat 1 is going to be an A. Beat 2 is going to be an A. In the second measure, again, we're in 2/4 here. I didn't put the time up there, but we're in 2/4, so 2 beats per measure, just for counting. So again, it would be in measure 1 we'd have A, A. In the second measure, you've got your open E notes, E, E. Then on measure 3, you go up to that F for 2 beats. And then you go back to your E for 2 beats. And now the second 4 measures, go back to that A. The second measure here that's up on the screen will be your B. Then back to your A for 3 beats in a row. Then a rest and it repeats. So in time, I'll count it slow. Let's just play that together. I'm going to count 1 and 2 and here we go. And 1 and 2 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 and 1. I'll give you a little taste of some of those duos. So what you're going to do is you're going to play what I just played, but I'm going to play a little line underneath you. Don't be distracted. Try to listen to how your line fits into my line. You are going to be playing quarter notes on this. So I'm going to be playing 1/8 notes. So as you play like dun, dun, over here on my part, I'm going to be playing dun, 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 dun. So it's going to create a bit of like a musical, counterpoint to one another. So again, I'm going to count in 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and you're going to play 1 and 2 and so on. And I'll put the music up there. So again, I'm going to play my part. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. I hope you could hear how that kind of mixed together. All right, so let's bring up exercise 4. Exercise 4, again, is 8 measures, and I'll bring up the first 4 here. This one is focusing on our lower 2 strings. And if you look at it, it's going to be your open G for 2 beats. The second measure is your open D. Then we go up in measure 3 to your E note. Measure 4 goes back to your D. Then measure 5, back to your open G. Measure 6 goes up to your A, then open D. See how that's notated there? And then your last 3 notes in the final 2 measures are just G. So let's play that exercise together. 1 and 2 and here we go. And 1 and 2 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 and 1. So again, I'm using the open strings as references as I learn to sight read on the mandolin, and then we're going to build from there, learning notes directly above and below. And if you can put this into your learning, like if you already know a G scale, right? G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. If you're saying those notes out loud, like I always encourage, you're going to start to say, oh yeah, I know that's an A, I know that's a D, I know that's an E. Oh yeah, that's a G up there. And you're going to start to be able to use sight reading as a way to supplement your knowledge of the fretboard when you're playing by ear, playing by tab, playing in jams. Some people think it's like, whoa, those sight reading is like totally over here, and it's only for classical players. It's like, no, man. Sight reading helps you learn the fretboard better and helps you understand chords better. So I really don't think that there's like a tried and true way to, like, well, just because Bill Monroe played the mandolin, maybe he didn't read music. I have no clue if he did. I never met the guy. But like, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't learn it when it's available to us if we can, pull something from it. I think, all forms of learning are awesome and each speak to us in a different way. So I really encourage you to sight read, even if it's just a little bit, to just understand the scale. Even if you can't learn to sight read like super fast or anything, you'll find that it's really rewarding over time. So let me know if you've got any questions. Thanks for checking this out. And again, I invite you over to patreon.com/MyBluegrassRomance for more supplemental information for this lesson. Thanks for listening, guys.